talk with you about where we are as a nation and a party and where we are as a state. And then after I do that, I want to talk a little bit about really grassroots activism and the role that you guys play. Because I know that your purpose as a coalition is to do a lot of those things. I want to tell you though about a personal situation that I had. It's hard for me to believe that it's been almost 20 years ago. But you'll understand when I tell you the story why today that is just really since January this year keeps playing over and over in my mind. You see, about 20 years ago, I was on assignment in London. And I was working as, I'm an attorney by training, and I was working as a legal advisor to a multinational energy company. Now, if you'll remember with me, the Iron Curtain had just fallen. And our company, along with a consortium of other European oil and gas companies, we were building a pipeline from the North Sea across Denmark and then down through Europe into Czechoslovakia when it was literally, had just come out of the Iron Curtain and was breaking apart. And it was interesting because I was the only American that was there. I was the only England, and I was the only representative that my company sent to negotiate this deal. There were Europeans from every country, and in particular, I remember the Poles and the Slovaks. And I really wasn't sure politically where everyone was when we started out, because it was in the middle of chaos in Eastern Europe. And what was really interesting was that these men from the former Soviet bloc were so hungry for Western ideas and economic thought and freedom that every minute, and we spent days together in Copenhagen, every minute that we were not involved in negotiations, they were coming to me. They weren't going to the Europeans. They weren't looking to socialist governments. They wanted to know what the American thought. And I found myself in the business, in the middle of this business negotiation, actually talking about America and freedom and you know, the market economy and how it works and how to maximize freedom. And I have to tell you, I've always known that we lived in a very blessed country. I happen to believe that America is the most blessed nation that has ever been on the face of the earth or ever will be, because it is the only nation that was truly founded on the principle that all men are created equal and in the image of God. And as a result of that, we've enjoyed incredible freedom. And so I determined when I came back to America that I had to do more than ever before to defend her from within. And that's why about 6 years ago, I actually left full-time law practice to become chairman of the party and to make a difference for conservative values. Now, I have to tell you, since I don't think I heard Erwin tell you this, but I did step down just a couple of weeks ago as chairman because I felt it very important. We have a very important gubernatorial race coming up. And for the reasons I want to talk about with regard to how Texas is doing, as chairman, I couldn't take a stand. But I am no longer chairman and I can take a stand. So let me just talk with you, though, about what I see going on and where the party is today. As conservatives, our philosophy is clearly based on respect for the individual, as set forth in the Constitution and our founding documents. And what we saw at the national level was our party grew and it was entrusted with leadership when we stayed true to those conservative principles. In fact, if you remember, we focused back, let me think, presidential year about 1980 on 3 things: strong fiscal discipline, a strong national defense, and traditional family values. And it swept across America. Conservatism was alive and well, as it really always has been. Now, the interesting thing is that America still is a center-right country. And anyone who tells you we need to run to the middle of the road does not know what they're talking about. In fact, I was telling somebody earlier, the only thing in the middle of the road are yellow stripes and dead animals. I don't want to be either one of those. But, you know, it's interesting because what happens, in fact, let me just ask you, have any of you heard of the Red, White, and Blue platform or American Solutions? I started to say, a couple of you have. Newt Gingrich a couple of years ago went out and spent several $100,000, and he interviewed people across the spectrum of America who identify themselves as Democrats, as Republicans, and as independents. And what he said was all those issues on which those agree, we're going to put that into a platform for America. Well, you can actually go to www.americansolutions.com and see that platform. Now, the really interesting part of that is when you read it, it looks a lot like the Republican Party of Texas platform. America is still a center-right country. Now, if you look at what happened in Washington, it was only when Republicans failed to stay true to their conservative principles and then started having ethical and moral lapses of their own that we lost the trust of the American people. And so what I have said for the last couple of years, and I've told the National Party this as well, if we hope to win in 2010 and beyond, and the only purpose of winning should be to put people in office who will actually put our conservative values into place. Otherwise, what's the point? We can all go do a lot more things with our time. But when we do that, we've got to restore the trust and the faith of the American people in our elected officials and in our party at the national level. And with Obama and the Democrats actually controlling pretty much all of D.C. at this point, I think never before have we seen in the last couple of decades such a true picture of what the values of each party stands for. And so I think, and I will tell you just by the way that Texans, regardless of party affiliation, when you talk to most of them, they do agree with us on the issues. And I think that's why we can continue to grow despite what's been happening nationally. Now, when our elected officials live up to the principles in our platform, we encourage individual responsibility and limited government and lower taxes and stronger family and unlimited opportunity for everybody. When candidates offer a vision of a smaller, more limited, more accountable, transparent government, they win. But when they actually put those principles into practice, then the people win. And that is what's important. Now, in Texas, I think we understand conservative principles, and we really have stood strong as a party on those. We've enjoyed incredible success, and quite frankly, that is due directly to activists like you who have been in the fight for a very long time. Your work makes such a huge difference. I will tell you that in the last few election cycles, despite, and I think it bears some of what Erwin said repeating, despite what has been happening at the national level, we have seen amazing growth in the Republican Party in Texas. We voted just a couple of things. We voted for the Republican presidential nominee for the 8th straight consecutive election. We swept all statewide seats on the ballot for the 7th consecutive session. We've maintained control of the Texas Senate, the Texas House. We've taken nearly 500 seats away from Democrats in the last couple of election cycles. We have literally made historic gains in every area of this state. In 2006, we picked up seats in 96 counties. In 2008, despite having Barack Obama at the top of the ticket, we made gains in 86 counties. We have re-elected U.S. senators in 06 and 08. We, quite frankly, even in our primary last year, we busted every number there was. So clearly the party has continued to grow. And I think it will continue to do that as long as we stand strong on those principles. Now, I will tell you, nobody in this state gets more frustrated with Texas politics than I do from time to time. But I will say this, our state is strong, it's prosperous, and it's free because of Republican leadership and conservative governments in Austin.